The Wonderful Life and Teachings of Sri Sai Baba, adapted from the original Marathi book Sri Sai Satcharitra by Govind Raghunath Dabolkar, alias Hemad Pant. In English by Nagesh Vasudev Gunaji.
Gajanana Sai Gajanana
Gajanana Sai Gajanana Shirdi Sai Gajanana Shirdi Sai Gajanana
Mushika Vagana Gajanana
Mushika Vagana Gajanana Modaka Hasta Gajanana Modaka Hasta Gajanana
Gajanana Sai Gajanana
Shirdi Sai Gajanana Shirdi Sai Gajanana
Vamana Rupa Gajanana
Vamana Rupa Gajanana Lambodara Jaya Gajanana Lambodara Jaya Gajanana
Gajanana Sai Gajanana
Shirdi Sai Gajanana Gajanana Sai Gajanana Shirdi Sai Gajanana.
Chapter 1. The story of grinding wheat and its philosophical significance. According to the ancient and revered custom, Hemad Pant begins the work Sri Sai Satcharitra with various salutations. First, he pays his respect to the god Ganesh to remove all obstacles and make the work a success. He says Sri Sai is the god Ganesh himself. Then to the goddess Saraswati to inspire him to write the work, and says Sri Sai is one with this goddess and that he himself is singing his own life. Then to the gods Brahma, Vishnu and Shankar, the creating, preserving and destroying deities, and says Sainath is one with them and he, the great teacher, will carry us across the river of worldly existence. Then to his tutelary deity Narayan Adinath, who manifested himself in Konkan, the land reclaimed by Parashurama from the sea, and to the Adi Purush of the family. Then to Bharadvaj Muni, into whose Gotra he was born, and also to various rishis, Yagyavalkya, Bhrigu, Parashar, Narad, Vedavyas, Sanak, Sanadan, Sanat Kumar, Shuka, Shaunak, Vishwamitra, Vasishta, Valmiki, Vamadev, Jaimini, Vaishampayana, Navayogindra, etc. And also to modern saints such as Nivruti, Dhyanadev, Sopan, Muktabai, Janardhan, Eknath, Namdev, Tukaram, Kanha and Narahari, etc. Then to his grandfather Sadashiv, father Raghunath, his mother who left him in his infancy, to his paternal aunt who brought him up, and to his loving elder brother. Then to the readers, he prays to give their whole and undivided attention to his work. And lastly to his Guru, Sri Sainath, an incarnation of Sri Dattatreya, who is his sole refuge and who will make him realize that Brahma is a reality and the world an illusion, and incidentally, to all the beings in whom the Lord God dwells. After describing in brief the various modes of devotion according to Parashar, Vyasa and Shandilya, the author goes on to relate the following story. It was some time after 1910 that I went one fine morning to the masjid in Shirdi for having a darshan of Sai Baba. I was wonderstruck to see the following phenomenon. After washing his mouth and face, Sai Baba began to make preparations for grinding wheat. He spread a sack on the floor and then put a hand mill on it. He took some quantity of wheat in a winnowing fan and then, drawing up the sleeves of his kafni, he took hold of the peg of the hand mill, started grinding the wheat by putting a few handfuls of wheat in the upper opening of the mill and rotated it. I thought, what business does Baba have with the grinding of wheat when he possessed nothing and stored nothing and he lived only on alms? Some people who had come there thought likewise, but none had the courage to ask Baba what he was doing. Immediately this news of Baba's grinding wheat spread into the village, and at once men and women ran to the masjid, flocked there to see Baba's act. 4 bold women from the crowd forced their way up and, pushing Baba aside, took forcibly the peg or handle into their hands and, singing Baba's leelas, started grinding. At first, Baba was enraged, but on seeing the women's love and devotion, he was much pleased and began to smile. While they were grinding, they began to think that Baba had no house, no property, no children, none to look after, and he lived on alms, and therefore he did not require any wheat flour for making bread or roti. What will he do with this big quantity of flour? Perhaps, as Baba is very kind, he will distribute the flour amongst us. Thinking in this way, and while singing, they finished the grinding, and after putting the hand mill aside, they divided the flour into 4 portions, began to remove them by taking 1 portion per head. Baba, who was calm and quiet up till now, got wild and started abusing them, saying, "Ladies, have you gone mad? Whose father's property are you looting anyway? Have I borrowed any wheat from you so you can safely take the flour? Now, do this. Take the flour, throw it on the village borders." On hearing this, the women felt abashed and, whispering amongst themselves, went to the outskirts of the village and spread the flour as directed by Baba. I asked the Shirdi people, what was this that Baba did? They replied, as a cholera epidemic was spreading in the village, this was Baba's remedy against the same. It was not wheat that was ground, but cholera itself was ground to pieces and pushed out of the village. From this time onward, the cholera epidemic subsided and the people of the village were very happy. I was very pleased to know all of this, but at the same time, my curiosity was also aroused. I began to ask myself, what earthly connection was there between wheat flour and cholera? What was the causal relation between the two? And how to reconcile them? The incident seems to be inexplicable. I should write something on this, I thought to myself, and sing to my heart's content Baba's sweet leelas. Thinking in this way about this leela, my heart was filled with joy, and I was thus inspired to write Baba's life, the Sai Satcharitra. And as we know, with Baba's grace and blessings, this work was successfully accomplished. Philosophical significance of grinding. Apart from the meaning which the people of Shirdi put on this incident of grinding wheat, there is, we think, a philosophical significance too. Baba lived in Shirdi for about 60 years, and during this long period, he did the business of grinding almost every day. Not, however, the wheat alone, but the sins, the mental and physical afflictions and the miseries of his innumerable devotees. The 2 stones of his mill consisted of karma and bhakti, the former being the lower one and the latter the upper. The handle with which Baba worked the mill consisted of dhyan. It was a firm conviction of Baba that knowledge or self-realization is not possible unless there is the prior act of grinding of all our impulses, desires, sins, and of 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and the ahankar, which is so subtle and therefore so difficult to get rid of. This reminds us of a similar story of Kabir, who, seeing a woman grinding corn, said to his guru, Nipat Niranjan, I am weeping because I feel the agony of being crushed under this wheel of worldly existence, like the corn in the handmill. Nipat Niranjan replied, Do not be afraid. Hold fast to the handle of knowledge of this mill, as I do, and do not wander far away from the same, but turn inward to the center, and you are sure to be saved. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Chapter 2. Object of writing the work, incapacity and boldness in the undertaking, hot discussion, conferring significant and prophetic title of Hemad Panth, necessity of a guru. In the last chapter, the author mentioned in the original Marathi book that he would state the reason that led him to undertake the work, and about the persons qualified to read the same. Now, in this chapter, he starts to tell the reasons. Object of writing the work. In the first chapter, I described Sai Baba's miracle of checking and destroying the cholera epidemic by grinding wheat and throwing the flour on the outskirts of the village. I heard other miracles of Sai Baba to my great delight, and this delight burst forth into this poetic work. I also thought that the description of these miracles of Sai Baba would be interesting and instructive to his devotees, and would remove their sins, and so I began to write the sacred life and teachings of Sai Baba. The life of the saint is neither logical nor dialectical. It shows us the true and great path. Incapacity and boldness in undertaking the work. Hemad Panth thought that he was not a fit person to undertake the work. He said, When I do not know the life of my intimate friend, nor do I know my own mind, how can I write the life of a saint or describe the nature of incarnations which even the Vedas were unable to do so? One must be a saint himself before he could know other saints. Otherwise, how can I describe their glory? To write the life of a saint is the most difficult, though one may as well be able to measure the depths of the water of the seven seas or enclose the sky with cloth trappings. I knew that this was a most venturous undertaking, which might expose me to ridicule. I therefore invoked Sai Baba's grace. The premier poet saint of Maharashtra, Sri Dhaneshwar Maharaj, has stated that the Lord loves those who write the lives of saints, and the saints also have their own peculiar method of assigning the service which the devotees long for. The saints inspire the work, the devotee becomes only an indirect cause or an instrument to achieve the end. For instance, in 1700 Shaka year, the poet Mahipati aspired to write the lives of saints. Saints inspired him and got the work done. So also, in 1800 Shaka year, Das Ganu's service was accepted. The former wrote 4 works, Bhakt Vijay, Sant Vijay, Bhakt Leelamrit and Sant Leelamrit, while the latter wrote 2, Bhakt Leelamrit and Sant Kathamrit, in which the lives of modern saints were described. In chapters 31, 32, 33 of Bhakt Leelamrit and in chapter 57 of Sant Kathamrit, the life and teachings of Sai Baba are very well depicted. These have been separately published in Sai Leela magazine numbers 11 and 12, volume 17. The readers are advised to read these chapters. So also Sai Baba's wonderful Leelas are described by Mrs. Savitri Bai Raghunath of Bandra in a small book named Sri Sainath Bhajan Mala. Das Ganu Maharaj also has composed various sweet poems in Sai Baba. A devotee named Amidas Bhavani Mehta has also published some stories of Sai Baba in Gujarati. Some numbers of Sainath Prabha, a magazine published by Dakshin Bhiksha Sanstha of Shirdi, are also published. Then the question of objection comes in, that while so many works regarding Sai Baba are extant, why should this Satcharitra be written? And where is its necessity? The answer is plain and simple. The life of Sai Baba is as wide and as deep as the infinite ocean, and all can dive deep into the same and take out precious gems of knowledge and bhakti and distribute them to the aspiring people. The stories, parables, and the teachings of Sai Baba are wonderful. They will give peace and happiness to the people who are afflicted with sorrows and heavily loaded with miseries of this worldly existence. It also bestows knowledge and wisdom both in worldly and in spiritual domains. If these teachings of Sai Baba, which are as interesting and instructive as a Vedic lore, are listened to and meditated upon, the devotees will get what they long for: union with Brahma, mastery in eightfold yoga, bliss of meditation. So I thought I should call these stories together. That would be my best upasana. This collection would be most delightful to those simple souls whose eyes were not blessed with Sai Baba's darshan. So I set about collecting Sai Baba's teachings and expressions, the outcome of his boundless self-realization. It was Sai Baba who inspired me in this matter. In fact, I surrendered my ego at his feet and thought my path was clear and that he would make me quite happy here and in the next world. I could not myself ask Sai Baba to give me permission for this work. So I requested Mr. Madhav Rao Deshpande, alias Shama, Baba's most intimate devotee, to speak to him for me. He pleaded for my cause and said to Sai Baba, "This Anna Sahib wishes to write your biography. Don't say you're a poor fakir and there is no necessity to write it. But if you agree and help him, he will write, or rather, your grace will accomplish the work. Without your consent and blessing, nothing can be done successfully." When Sai Baba heard this request, he was moved and blessed me by giving me his udi, and placing his boon-bestowing hand on my head, he said, "Let him make a collection of stories and experiences, keep notes and memos. I will help him. He is only an outward instrument. I should write my autobiography myself and satisfy the wishes of my devotees. He should get rid of his ego, surrender it at my feet. He who acts like this in life, him I help the most. What of my life stories? I serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely annihilated and there is left no trace of it, I myself shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. Hearing my stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' hearts, and they will easily get self-realization and bliss. Let there be no insistence on establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute others' opinions, no discussion of pros and cons of any subject." Significant and prophetic title. The word discussion put me in mind of my promise to explain the story of my getting the title of Hemat Pant, and now I begin to relate the same. I was in close friendly terms with Kaka Sahib Dikshit and Nana Sahib Chandorkar. They pressed me to go to Shirdi and have Baba's darshan, and I promised them to do so. But something in the meanwhile turned up which prevented me from going to Shirdi. The son of a friend of mine at Lonavala fell ill. My friend tried all possible means, physical and spiritual, but the fever would not abate. At length, he got his guru to sit by the bedside of his son, but this too was of no avail. Hearing this, I thought, what was the utility of the guru if he could not save my friend's son? If the guru can't do anything for us, why should I go to Shirdi at all? Thinking this way, I postponed my Shirdi trip, but the inevitable must happen, and it happened in my case as follows. Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who was a divisional officer, was going on tour to Bassein. From Thana, he came to Dadar and was waiting for a train bound for Bassein. In the meanwhile, a Bandra local turned up. He sat in it and came to Bandra and sent for me and took me to task for putting off my Shirdi trip. Nana's argument for my Shirdi trip was convincing and delightful, and so I decided to start for Shirdi the same night. I packed up my luggage and started for Shirdi. I planned to go to Dadar and from there to catch the train for Manmad, and so I booked myself for Dadar and sat in the train. While the train was to start, a Mohammedan came hastily to my compartment and seeing all my paraphernalia, asked me where I was bound to. I told him about my plan. He then suggested that I should go straight to Boribandar and not wait at Dadar, as a Manmad mail did not stop at Dadar. If this little miracle or Leela had not happened, I would not have reached Shirdi the next day as settled, and many doubts would have assailed me. But that was not to be. As fortune favoured me, I reached Shirdi the next day before 9 or 10 a.m. Mr. Bhau Sahib Kaka Dikshit was waiting for me there. This was in 1910, when there was only one place, the Sathe Wada, for lodging pilgrim devotees. After alighting from the Tonga, I was anxious to have darshan, when the great devotee Tatya Sahib Nulkar returned from the masjid and said Sai Baba was at the corner of the Wada and that I should first get the preliminary darshan and then, after bath, see him at leisure. Hearing this, I ran and prostrated before Baba, and my joy knew no bounds. I found more than what Nana Chandorkar had told me. All my senses were satisfied and I forgot my thirst and hunger. The moment I touched Sai Baba's feet, I began a new lease of life. I felt myself much obliged to those who spurred and helped me to get the darshan, and I considered them as my real relatives, and I cannot repay their debt. I only remember them and prostrate before them. The peculiarity of Sai Baba's darshan, as I found it, is that by his darshan our thoughts are changed. The force of previous actions is abated, and gradually non-attachment or dispassion towards worldly objects grows up. It is by the merit of actions in many past births that such darshan is got. And if only you see Sai Baba, all the world becomes or assumes the form of Sai Baba. Hot discussion. On the first day of my arrival in Shirdi, there was a discussion between me and Bala Sahib Bhate regarding the necessity of a guru. I contended, why should we lose our freedom and submit to others? When we have to do our duty, why is a guru necessary? One must try his best and save himself. What can the guru do to a man who does nothing but sleep indolently? Thus, I pleaded free will, while Mr. Bhate took up the other side, on the side of destiny, and he said, whatever is bound to happen must happen. Even great men have failed. Man proposes one way, but God disposes the other way. Brush aside your cleverness, pride or egoism won't help you. This discussion, with all its pros and cons, went on for an hour or so, and as usual, no conclusion was arrived at. We had to stop the discussion ultimately, as we were exhausted. The net result of this was that I lost my peace of mind, and found that unless there is strong body consciousness and egoism, there would be no discussion. In other words, it's egoism which breeds discussion. Then when we went to the masjid with the others, Baba asked Kaka Sahib Dikshit the following. What was going on in the Sathe Wada? What was the discussion about? And staring at me, Baba further added, what did this Hemad Pant say? Hearing these words, I was much surprised. The masjid was at a considerable distance from Sathe Wada, where I was staying, and where the discussion was going on. How could Baba know our discussion unless he was omniscient and the inner ruler of us all? I began to think, why Sai Baba should call me by the name Hemad Pant? This word is a distorted form of Hemadri Pant. This Hemadri Pant was a well-known minister of the kings Mahadev and Ramdev of Devagiri of the Yadav dynasty. He was very learned, good-natured, and the author of works such as Chaturvarg Chintamani, dealing with spiritual subjects, and Raj Prashasti. He invented and started new methods of accounts and was the originator of the Modi Marathi shorthand script. But I was quite the opposite, an ignoramus and of mediocre intellect. So I could not understand why the name or title was conferred upon me, but thinking seriously upon it, I thought that the title was a dart to destroy my ego, so that I should always remain meek and humble. It was also a compliment paid to me for the cleverness in the discussion. Looking into the history, we think Baba's word calling Mr. Dabholkar by the name Hemat Pant was significant and prophetic, as we find he looked after the management of Sai Sansthan very intelligently, kept all the accounts nicely, and was also the author of such a good work, Sai Satcharitra, which deals with such important and spiritual subjects as dhyan, bhakti, dispassion, self-surrender, and self-realization. About the necessity of a guru. Hemat Pant has left no note, no memo about what Baba said regarding the subject, but Kaka Sahib Dikshit has published his notes regarding the matter. Next day after Hemat Pant's meeting with Sai Baba, Kaka Sahib went to Baba and asked, "Baba, where to go?" Baba said, "High up." Kaka Sahib Dikshit said, "Where is the way?" Baba said, "There are many ways leading there. There is one way from here, Shirdi too. The way is very difficult. There are tigers and wolves in the jungles on the way." Kaka Sahib asked, "But Baba, what if we take a guide with us?" Baba answered, "Then there is no difficulty. The guide will take you straight to your destination, avoiding wolves, tigers, and ditches on the way. But if there is no guide, there is the danger of your being lost in the jungles or falling into the ditches." Mr. Dabholkar was present on this occasion, and he thought this was the answer Baba gave to the question whether Guru was a necessity. And he thereupon took the hint that no discussion whether man is free or bound is of any use in spiritual matters, but on the contrary, real Paramatma is possible only as a result of the teachings of the Guru. This is illustrated in this chapter of the original work, in the instances of great avatars like Ram and Krishna, who had to submit themselves to their gurus, Vasishtha and Sandipani respectively, for getting self-realization, and that the only virtues necessary for progress are faith and patience. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Chapter 3. Sai Baba's Sanction and Promise. Assignment of work to devotees. Baba's stories as beacon light. His motherly love. Rohila's story. His sweet and nectar-like words. Sai Baba's Sanction and Promise. As described in the previous chapter, Sai Baba gave his complete consent to the writing of Sai Satcharitra and said, "I fully agree with you regarding the writing of Satcharitra. You do your duty. Do not be afraid in the least. Steady your mind and have faith in my words. If my Leelas are written, the avidya will vanish, and if they are attentively and devoutly listened to, the consciousness of the worldly existence will abate, and strong waves of devotion and love will rise up. And if one dives deep into my Leelas, he would get precious jewels of knowledge." Hearing this, the author was much pleased, and he at once became fearless and confident, and thought that the work was bound to be a success. Then turning to Shama, Madhav Rao Deshpande, Sai Baba said, "If a man utters my name with love, I shall fulfill all his wishes, increase his devotion. And if he sings earnestly my life and my deeds, him I shall beset in front and back and all the sides. Those devotees who attach to me heart and soul will naturally feel happiness when they hear these stories. Believe me that if anybody sings my Leelas, I will give him infinite joy and everlasting contentment. It is my special characteristic to free any person who surrenders completely to me, and who worships me faithfully and who remembers me and meditates on me constantly. How can they be conscious of worldly objects and sensations who utter my name, who worship me, who think of my stories in my life, and who thus always remembers me? I shall draw out my devotees from the jaws of death. If my stories are listened to, all the diseases will be got rid of. So, hear my stories with respect, and think, and meditate on them. Assimilate them. This is the way of happiness and contentment. The pride and egoism of my devotees will vanish. The mind of the hearers will be set at rest, and if he has wholehearted and complete faith, he will be one with supreme consciousness. The simple remembrance of my name as Sai, Sai will do away with sins of speech and hearing. Different works assigned to devotees. The Lord entrusts different works to different devotees. Some are given the work of building temples and mats or ghats on rivers. Some are made to sing the glories of God. Some are sent on pilgrimages. But to me was allotted the work of writing the Sai Satcharitra. Being a jack of all trades but master of none, I was quite unqualified for this job. Then why should I undertake such a difficult task? Who can describe the true life of Sai Baba? Sai Baba's grace alone can enable one to accomplish this difficult work. So when I took the pen in my hand, Sai Baba took away my egoism and wrote himself his stories. The credit of relating these stories, therefore, goes to him and not to me. Though Brahmin by birth, I lacked the two eyes of Shruti and Smriti, and therefore was not at all capable of writing the Sai Satcharitra. But the grace of the Lord makes a dumb man talk, enables a lame man to cross a mountain. He alone knows the ways of getting things done as he likes. Neither the flute nor the harmonium knows how the sounds are produced. This is the concern of the player. The oozing of Chandrakant jewel and the surging of the sea are not due to the jewel and the sea, but due to the rise of the moon. Baba's stories as beacon light. Lighthouses are constructed at various places in the sea to enable the boatmen to avoid rocks and dangers and make them sail safely. Sai Baba's stories serve a similar purpose in the ocean of worldly existence. They surpass nectar in sweetness and make our worldly path smooth and easy to traverse. Blessed are the stories of the saints. When they enter our hearts through the years, the body consciousness or egoism and the sense of duality vanish. And when they are stored in the hearts, doubts will evade, pride of the body will fall, and wisdom will be stored in abundance. The description of Baba's pure fame and the hearing of the same with love will destroy the sins of the devotee, and therefore this is a simple sadhana for attaining salvation. The sadhana for Krita age was samadhama, tranquility of the body and mind. For Treta age, sacrifice. For Dwapara, worship. And for the Kali, which is the present age, it is the singing of the name and glory of the Lord. This last sadhana is open to all the people of the four Varnas. The other sadhanas, Yoga Tyaga, which is sacrifice, Dhyan, which is meditation, and Dhyan Dharana, which is concentration, are very difficult to practice. But singing and hearing the stories and glory of the Lord is very easy. We only have to turn attention towards them. The listening and the singing of the stories will remove the attachment to the senses and their objects and will make the devotees dispassionate and ultimately lead them to self-realization. With this end in view, Sai Baba made me write his stories, Satcharitra. The devotees may now easily read and hear these stories of Sai Baba, and while doing so meditate on him, his form, and thus attain devotion to Guru and God. Get dispassion and self-realization. In the preparation and writing of this work, Sai Satcharitra, it is Sai Baba's grace which has accomplished everything, making use of me as a mere instrument. Motherly love of Sai Baba. Everybody knows how a cow loves her infant calf. Her udder is always full, and when the calf wants milk and dashes at the udder, out comes the milk in an unceasing flow. Similarly, a human mother knows the wants of a child beforehand and feeds him at her breast in time. In case of dressing and adorning the child, the mother takes particular care to see that this is well done. The child knows or cares nothing about this, but the mother's joy knows no bounds when she sees a child well dressed and adorned. The love of mother is peculiar, extraordinary and disinterested and has no parallel. Sadgurus feel this motherly love towards the disciples. Sai Baba had the same love towards me, and I give an instance of this below. In 1916, I retired from government service. The pension that was settled in my case was not sufficient to maintain my family decently. On Guru Purnima, which is the 15th of Ashad month, on that day I went to Shirdi with other devotees. There, Mr. Anna Chichanikar of his own accord prayed to Baba for me as follows. Please look kindly at him. The pension he gets is quite insufficient. His family is growing. Give him some other appointment, remove his anxiety and make him happy. Baba replied, he will get some other job, but now he should serve me and be happy. His dishes will be ever full and never empty. He should turn all his attention towards me and avoid the company of atheists, irreligious and wicked people. He should be modest and humble towards all and worship me with heart and soul. If he does this, he will get eternal happiness. The question, who is this he whose worship is advocated, is already answered in a note on who is Sai Baba in the prologue at the beginning of this work. Rohila story. The story of the Rohila illustrates Sai Baba's all-embracing love. One Rohila, tall and well-built, strong as a bull, came to Shirdi wearing a long kafni, and he was enamored of the Sai. Day and night he used to recite in a loud and harsh tone the Kalma, which are the verses from the Holy Quran, and he used to shout, Allahu Akbar, God is great. Most people of Shirdi were working in their fields during the day, and when they returned to their homes at night, they were welcomed with the Rohila's harsh cries and shouts. They could get no sleep and felt much troubled and inconvenienced. They suffered this nuisance for some days in silence, and when they could stand it no longer, they approached Baba and requested him to check the Rohila and stop the nuisance. Baba did not attend to their complaint. On the contrary, Baba took the villagers to task and asked them to mind their own business. He said to them that the Rohila had got a very bad wife who tried to trouble the Rohila and himself. But hearing the Rohila's prayers, she dare not enter and they were at peace. In fact, the Rohila had no wife, and by his wife, Baba meant Durbuddhi, evil thoughts. As Baba liked prayers and cries to God better than anything else, he took the side of the Rohila and asked the villagers to wait and bear with the nuisance, which would abate in due course. Baba's sweet and nectar-like words. One day at noon after the Aarti, devotees were returning to the lodgings when Baba gave the following beautiful advice. Be wherever you like, do whatever you choose. Remember this. All what you do is known to me. I am the inner ruler of all and seated in your hearts. I envelop all the creatures, the movable and the immovable world. I am the controller, the wire puller of the show of this universe. I am the mother, origin of all beings, the harmony of three gunas, the propeller of all senses, the creator, preserver and destroyer. Nothing will harm him who turns his attention towards me, but Maya will lash or whip him who forgets me. All the insects, ants, the visible, movable and the immovable world is my body or form. Hearing these beautiful and precious words, I at once decided in my mind to serve no man henceforth but my Guru only. But the reply of Baba to Anna Chichanikar's query, which was really mine, that I would get some job, began to revolve in my mind, and I began to think whether it would come to happen. As future events showed, Baba's words came true, and I got a government job, but that was of short duration. Then I became free and solely devoted myself to the service of my Guru Sai Baba. Before concluding this chapter, I request the readers to leave out the various hindrances of indolence, sleep, wandering of mind, attachments to senses, and turn their whole and undivided attention to these stories of Sai Baba. Let their love be natural. Let them know the secret of devotion. Let them not exhaust themselves by other sadhanas. Let them stick to the simple remedy, listening to Sai Baba's stories. This will destroy the ignorance and will secure for them salvation. A miser may stay at various places, but he constantly thinks of his buried treasure. So let Sai Baba be enthroned in the hearts of everyone. In the next chapter, I shall speak of Sai Baba's advent in Shirdi. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.
ॐ शिर्डिवासाय विद्महे सच्चिदानन्दाय धीमहि तन्नो साई प्रचोदयात्.
Chapter 4. Sai Baba's first advent in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints, Shirdi a holy Tirth, personality of Sai Baba, dictum of Gauli Bua, appearance of Vitthal, Shir Sagar's story, Das Ganu's bath in Prayag, Immaculate Conception of Sai Baba and his first advent in Shirdi, the three Vadas. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write Sai Satcharitra. Let me now describe the first advent of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whenever there is a decay of dharma and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself for the protection of the virtuous and the destruction of the vicious. And for the establishment of righteousness, I manifest myself age after age. This is the mission of the Lord and the sages and saints who are his representatives and who appear at appropriate times and work in their own way to fulfill that mission. For instance, when the twice born, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas neglect their duties, and when the Shudras try to usurp the duties of other classes, when spiritual preceptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for religious instructions, when everybody thinks himself very learned, when people begin to partake of forbidden foods and intoxicating drinks, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in malpractices, when people belonging to different sects fight amongst themselves, when Brahmins fail to do Sandhya adoration and the orthodox leave their religious practices, when yogis neglect their meditation, when people begin to think that wealth, progeny, wife are their sole concern and turn away from the true path of salvation, then saints appear and try to set matters at right path by their words and action. They serve as beacon lights and show us the path and the right way for us to follow. In this way, many saints, Nivriti, Dhyandev, Muktabai, Namdev, Gora, Gonai, Eknath, Tukaram, Narahari, Narsi Bhai, Sajan Kasai, Savata, Ramdas, various others did appear at various times to show the right path to the people and present Advent came as Sri Sai Baba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy Tirth. The banks of the Godavari river in the Ahmednagar district are very fortunate, for they gave birth and refuge to many a saint, prominent amongst them being Dhyaneshwar. Shirdi also falls in the Kopargaon Taluka of the Ahmednagar district. After crossing the Godavari river at Kopargaon, one gets the way to Shirdi. When you travel there 3 kos or 9 miles, you come to Nimgaon, from where Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is as famous and well known as the other holy places like Gangapur, Nirsinghavadi, or Dambar on the banks of Krishna river. As the devotee Damoji flourished and blessed Mangal Veda, as Samarth Ramdas at Sajangad, as Sri Nirsingha Saraswati at Saraswati Wadi, so Sainath flourished at Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai Baba. It is an account of Sri Sai Baba that Shirdi grew into importance. Let us see what sort of a person Sai Baba was. He conquered the sansar, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was a repository of wisdom. He was the home of Vaishnav devotees, most generous amongst all, the quintessence of all essences. He had no love for perishable things and was always engrossed in self-realization, which was his sole concern. He felt no pleasure in the things of this world or of the world beyond. His antrang was as clear as a mirror, His speech always rained nectar. The rich or poor people were the same to him. He neither knew nor cared for honor or dishonor. He was the Lord of all beings. He spoke freely, mixed with all people, watched the actings and dances of nautch girls and heard ghazal songs. Still, he swerved not an inch from Samadhi. The name of Allah was always on his lips. While the world awoke, he slept. And while the world slept, he was vigilant. His abdomen was as calm as a deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be definitely predicted. And though he sat in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told daily hundreds of stories. Still, he swerved not an inch from his vow of silence. He always leaned against the wall in the masjid or walked morning, noon and evening towards Lendi and Chavadi. Still, he, at all times, abided in the self. Though a siddha, he acted like a sadhaka. He was meek, humble, egoless and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba. And as the soil of Shirdi was trodden by Sai Baba's feet, it attained extraordinary importance. As Dhyaneshwar elevated Alandi, Eknath did to Paitan, so Sai Baba raised Shirdi. Blessed are the grass leaves and stones of Shirdi, for they could kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take his dust on their head. Shirdi became to us devotees another Pandharpur, Jagannath, Dwarka, Banaras, Rameshwar, Badri Kedar, Nasik, Trayambekeshwar, Mahakaleshwar, Mahabaleshwar, Gokarn. Contact of Sai Baba and Shirdi was like our study of Veda and Tantra. It quietened our sansar and rendered self-realization. The darshan of Sri Sai was a yoga sadhana, and talk with him removed all our sins. Shampooing his legs with a bath in Triveni Prayag and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our sins. To us, his commands were Vedas, and accepting his Udi and Prasad was all purifying. He was a Sri Krishna and Sri Ram who gave us solace. He was a Parabrahma. He was himself beyond the pair of Dvandvas, never dejected nor elated. He was always engrossed in his self as existence, knowledge and bliss. Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far beyond to Punjab, Kolkata, North India, Gujarat, Dhaka and Konkan. Thus the fame of Sai Baba spread far and wide, and people from all parts came to take his darshan and be blessed. By mere darshan, minds of people, whether pure or impure, would become quiet at once. They got here the same unparalleled joy that devotees got at Pandharpur by seeing Vitthal Rakhumai. This is not an exaggeration. Listen to what a devotee says in this respect. Dictum of Gauli Buva. An old devotee by name Gauli Buva was about 95 years old. He was a Varkari of Pandhari. He stayed 8 months at Pandharpur and 4 months from Ashad to Karthik on the banks of the Ganges. He had an ass with him for carrying his luggage and a disciple as his companion. Every year he made his vari or trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi to see Sai Baba, whom he loved very much. He used to stare at Baba and say, "This is Pandharinath Vitthal incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and helpless." This Gauli Buva was an old devotee of Vithoba and had made many a trip to Pandhari, and he testified that Sai Baba was real Pandharinath. Vitthal himself appeared. Sai Baba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, and in his presence made others sing God's name continuously, day and night, for all 7 days of the week. This is called Nam Saptahi. Once he asked Das Ganu Maharaj to do the Nam Saptahi. Das Ganu replied he would do it, provided he was assured that Vitthal would appear at the end of the 7th day. Baba, placing his hand on his chest, assured him that certainly Vitthal would appear, but for that, the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Dhankapuri of Dhakurnath, the Pandhari of Vitthal, the Dwarka of Ranchod is here. One need not go far out to see Dwarka. Will Vitthal come here from outside place? Why, he is here. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and devotion, Vitthal will manifest himself in Shirdi here. After the Saptahi was over, Vitthal did manifest himself in the following manner. Das Gunu was as usual sitting in meditation after the bath, and he saw Vitthal in a vision. When he went at noon for Baba's darshan, Baba asked him point blank, "Did Vitthal Patil come? Did you see him? He is a very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he'll escape even if you are a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and at noon there was another Vitthal darshan. One hawker came there for selling 25 or 30 pictures of Vithoba. This picture exactly tallied with the figure that appeared in Kaka Sahib's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kaka Sahib Dikshit, or Das Ganuji was called, was much surprised and delighted. He bought one picture of Vithoba and placed it in his shrine for worship. Bhagwantrao Kshisagar's story. How fond was Baba for Vitthal worship was illustrated in Bhagwantrao Kshisagar's story. The father of Bhagwantrao was a devotee of Vithoba and used to make baris or annual trips to Pandharpur. He also had an image of Vithoba at home which he worshipped. After his death, the son stopped everything, the vari, the worship and the Shraddh ceremony. When Bhagwantrao came to Shirdi, Baba, on remembering his father, at once said, "His father was my friend, so I dragged him here. He never offered Naivedya, and so he starved Vitthal and me. I have brought him here now, and I shall remonstrate him and set him to worship." Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that a bath in the holy Tirth of Prayag, where the Ganga and Yamuna meet, is very meritorious, and thousands of pilgrims go there at periodical times to have a sacred bath there. Once, Das Ganu thought he should go to Prayag for a bath, and he came to Baba to get his permission from doing so. Baba replied to him, "It is not necessary to go so far. Our Prayag is here, believe me." Then, wonder of wonders, when Das Ganu placed his head on Baba's feet, out flowed streams of Ganga Yamuna water from both the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Das Ganu was overwhelmed with feelings of love and adoration, and he was full of tears. Inwardly, he felt inspired, and his speech burst forth into a song in praise of Baba and his Leelas. Immaculate Conception of Sai Baba and his first advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew the parents, birth or birthplace of Sai Baba. Many inquiries were made, many questions were put to Baba and the others, but no satisfactory answer or information has yet been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found as infants in mother of pearls. Namdev was found at the bank Bhimrathi river by Gunai, and Kabir on the bank Bhagirathi river by Tanmal. Similar was the case with Sai Baba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 years under a neem tree in Shirdi for the sake of bhaktas. Even then, he seemed to be full with the knowledge of Brahma. He had no desire for worldly objects even in dreams. He kicked out Maya, and Mukti was serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of Nana Chopdar, described him thus: "This young lad, fair, smart and very handsome, was first seen under the neem tree seated in an asan. The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing heart penance, not minding heat or cold. By day he associated with none, by night he was afraid of nobody. People were wondering and asking where this chap had turned up from. His form and features were so beautiful that a mere look endeared him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked very young, but by his action he was really a great soul. He was the embodiment of dispassion. He was an enigma to all. One day, it so happened that God Khandoba possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, Deva, you please inquire, what blessed father's son is this lad, and where has he come from? God Khandoba asked them to bring a pickaxe and dig in a particular place. When it was dug, bricks were found underneath a flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor was seen, in which 4 lights were burning. The corridor led to a cellar, where cow-mouth-shaped structures, wooden boards, rosaries were seen. Khandoba said, this lad practiced penance here for 12 years. Then the people began to question the lad about this. He put them off the scene by telling them that was his Guru's place, his holy Vatan, and he requested them to guard it well. The people then closed the corridor as before. As Ashwatha and Audumber trees are held sacred, Baba regarded the neem tree equally sacred and loved it very much. Mahal Saptahi and other Shirdi devotees regard this site as a resting place, Samadhi Sthan of Baba's Guru, and prostrate before it. 3 Vadas. The site with the neem tree and the surrounding space was brought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sathe, and on this site a big building styled Sathe's Vada was erected. This Vada was the sole resting place for pilgrims who flocked there. A par, or a platform, was built around the neem tree and lofts with steps were constructed. Under the steps, there is a niche facing south and devotees sit on the par facing north. It's believed that he who burns incense there on Thursday and Friday evenings will by God's grace be happy. This Vada was old and dilapidated and needed repairs. The necessary repairs, additions and alterations have been made now by the Sansthan. Then after some years, another Vada, Dikshit's Vada, was constructed. Kaka Sahib Dikshit, solicitor of Mumbai, had gone to England. He had injured his leg in an accident there. The injury could not be got rid of by any means. Nana Sahib Chandorkar advised him to see Sai Baba. So, he went to Sai Baba in 1909 and requested him to cure the lameness of his mind rather than that of his leg. He was so much pleased with the darshan of Sai Baba that he decided to reside in Shirdi. So he built a Vada for himself and other devotees. The foundation of this building was laid on 10th December 1910. On this day, 2 other important events took place. Mr. Dada Sahib Kharpade was given permission to return home and the night Aarti at the Chavdi was started. The Vada was completed and inhabited on the Ramnavami day in 1911 with due rites and formalities. Another Vada was put up by the famous millionaire Mr. Booty of Nagpur. Lots of money was spent on this building, but all the amount was well utilized as Sai Baba's body is resting in this Vada, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of this mandir formerly had a garden which was watered and looked after by Baba. 3 Vadas thus came up where there was none before. Of these, Sathe's Vada was most useful to all in the early days. The story of the garden, which was attended by Sai Baba with the help of Vaman Tathya, the temporary absence of Sai Baba from Shirdi, his returning to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil, the company of Devi Das, Janki Das and Gangagir, Baba's wrestling match with Mohideen Tamboli residing in Masjid, love of Mr. Dengle and other devotees, and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Bow to Shri Sai. Peace be to all. Chapter 5. Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai, contact with other saints, his attire and daily routine, the story of the Padukas, wrestling bout with Mohideen and change in life, turning water into oil, the pseudo-guru Jawahar Ali. Return with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shirdi after his disappearance. There lived in the Aurangabad district in a village called Dhoop, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search, but could get no trace of the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with a saddle on his back. After travelling 4 kos and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree under the foot of which sat a fakir. He had a cap on his head, wore kafni, and had a satka under his arm, and he was preparing to smoke a chilim. On seeing Chand Patil pass by the way, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The queer fellow of fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patil replied, it was of his mare which was lost some time back. The fakir asked him to search in the nala close by. He went, and wonder of wonders, Chand Patil found the mare there. He thought this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an Avaliya, a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilim was ready for being smoked, but two things were wanting: fire to light the pipe and water to wet the chapi, or the piece of cloth through which smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live ember which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from where water began to ooze. The chapi was wetted with that water, wrung out and wrapped around the pipe. Thus, everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chilim and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all of this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day, he went to Patil's house and stayed there for some time. Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married and the bride was from Shirdi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shirdi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dhoop except the fakir, who stayed back in Shirdi and remained there forever. How the fakir got his name Sai. When the marriage party came to Shirdi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bhagat Mahalspati's field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Khandoba's temple, and the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Mahalspati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, "Ya Sai," which means "Welcome Sai." Others also addressed him as Sai, and from then he became Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devi Das was living in Shirdi for many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company and stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavdi, and sometimes he lived alone. Then another saint by the name Janki Das also came there. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Janki Das went to Baba's residence. So also in Vaishya household, a saint from Puntambe by name Gangagir always frequented Shirdi. When he first saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land was fortunate and meritorious, it secured this jewel." Another famous saint by name Anandnath of Yavala Mutt, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some people. And when he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not an ordinary stone. He is a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yavala. This was said while Sai Baba was still a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, which is about 3 miles from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, jai and jui, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 unbaked earthen pitchers. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulder. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they would break, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya would supply him with 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and effort, there grew a garden. On this site at present stands the big mansion Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of Padukas under the neem tree. A devotee of Akalkot Maharaj by name Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakkar worshipped the photo of Akalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akalkot, which is in Solapur district, take the darshan of the Padukas of the Maharaj and offer his sincere prayer there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akhalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was very happy. As a reminiscence of this vision, he prepared the Padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan in 1912 AD under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities, which was conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasani. One Dikshit Brahmin was appointed for worship and the management was entrusted to devotee Sagun. Complete version of the same story. Mr. B.V. Dev, retired Mamlatdar of Thana and a great devotee of Sai Baba, made inquiries about this matter with Sagun Meru Naik and Govind Kamlakar Dikshit, and he has published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka, which is 1912 AD, one Dr. Ram Rao Kothare of Mumbai came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnaji Alibagkar accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate with Sagun Meru Naik and G.K. Dikshit. While discussing these persons thought there must be some memorial of Sai Baba's first advent at Shirdi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stone. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested if this matter was made known to the master, Dr. Ram Rao Kothari, he would prepare nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked the proposal and Dr. Kothare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi, drew a plan of the Padukas. He went to Upasani Maharaj in Kandhoba's temple and showed him the plan. The latter made many improvements, drew lotus, flowers, conch, disc, maize, etc. and suggested the following shloka regarding neem tree's greatness and Baba's yogic powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sadha nrimba vrikshasya mooladhivasat sudhastravinam tiktam piyapriyatam tarum kalpa vrikshadhikam sadayantam namamishwaram sadguru sayinatam. Meaning, I bow to the Lord Sainath, who by his constant stay at the foot of the neem tree made the bitter and unpleasant taste of the neem leaves as sweet as oozing nectar, better than the kalpavriksha, a wish-fulfilling tree. Upasani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The Padukas were made in Mumbai and sent to Shirdi with a compounder. Baba said they should be installed on the Purnima day of Shravan. On that day at 11 a.m., G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from the Kandhoba's temple to the Dwarakamai in a procession. Baba touched the Padukas, saying, "These are the feet of the Lord." He asked the people to install them under the foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Mumbai named Pastha Seth sent 25 rupees by money order. Baba gave this sum for the installation of the Padukas. The total expense of installation came up to 100 rupees, of which 75 were collected by subscription. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dikshit worshipped the Padukas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Kacheshwar Jakadi. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kothare sent rupees 2 per month for lighting the lamps, and he also sent the railing around the Padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Shirdi equaled 7 rupees 50 paise. The roofing was paid by Sagun Meru Naik. Now, Jhakadi or Nana Pujari does the worship and Sagun Meru Naik offers the Naivedya and lights the evening lamps. Bhai Krishnaji was originally a devotee of Akhalkot Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the Padukas in Shaka 1834 on his way to Akhalkot. He wanted to go to Akhalkot after taking the darshan of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akhalkot? Why do you want to go there? The Maharaj of that place is here, which is myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akhalkot. He came to Shirdi off and on after the installation of the Padukas. Mr. B.V. Dev concluded Hemad Pant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would have not failed to depict them in his Sai Satcharitra. Wrestling bout with Mohideen Tamboli and change in lifestyle. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by name Mohideen Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some points and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and his mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his bed and was content with wearing torn and worn-out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion descended over him, and at the proper time, he heard the voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body, playing with God. So he too gave up samsara and turned towards God realization. He established a mutt on the banks of the river near Puntambe and lived there with his disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of a bubble tree, near the stream, at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he would walk at random and go at times to Nimgaon. There, he frequented the house of Bala Sahib Dhengle. Baba loved Mr. Bala Sahib. His younger brother, named Nana Sahib, had no son, though he married a second wife. Bala Sahib sent Nana Sahib for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Sahib got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old and dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of a chilim, tobacco, a tumbrel, which is also a tin pot. He wore a long kafni, a piece of cloth around his head, and carried a satka, a short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on the head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a waistcloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of a dhuni which was facing south, and with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that dhuni, he offered an oblation of egoism, desires, and always uttered Allah Malik. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place Takia, where with ghungru tied on his ankles, Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love. Turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The baniyas who supplied oil for free once met together and decided not to give him oil. When as usual Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The baniyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tin pot, which contained very little drops of oil, put water in it and drank it, and then forced it to fall into the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he again took the water from the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching baniyas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The baniyas repented, apologized, and Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in the future. The pseudo-guru Jawahar Ali. 5 years after the wrestling bout of the above mentioned, one fakir from Ahmednagar by name Jawahar Ali came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in the spacious rooms near Veerabhadra temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build an Eidgah near the Veerabhadra temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Jawahar Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shirdi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object. He consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the shortcomings of the Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi off and on, but their mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shirdi did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata, so they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Eidgah and told the purpose for which they had come, Baba said to them the fakir was an angry, ill-tempered fellow. He would not leave him, and that they should better go back to Shirdi without him before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up. He was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some hot discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and the chela should return to Shirdi. And so they returned and lived in Shirdi for a long time. But after a few days, the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with the marriage party, this Devidas was about 10 or 12 years then. He came to Shirdi and lived in the Maruti temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and a dhyani. Many persons, namely Tatya Khote, Kashinath and others, regarded him as their guru. They brought Jawahar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Jawahar was worsted and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba his chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by his conduct how one could get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end of self-realization. This story is told here according to the version by Mahal Saptahi. In the next chapter will be described Ram Navami festival, the masjid, its former condition and later improvement. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Deva Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parat Brahma, Tasmai Shri Sai Gurave Namaha.
Chapter 6. Ram Navami Festival and Masjid Repairs. Efficacy of the touch of the Guru's hand. Ram Navami Festival, its origin, transformation, repairs of the Masjid. Before describing Ram Navami Festival and Masjid repairs, the author makes some preliminary remarks about Sadguru as follows. Efficacy of the touch of the Guru's hand. When Sadguru is the boatsman, he is sure to carry us safely and easily beyond the worldly ocean. The word Sadguru brings to mind Sai Baba, the perfect master. He appears to me as if standing before me and applying Udi to my forehead and placing his hand of blessing on my head. Then joy fills my heart and love overflows through my eyes. Wonderful is the power of the touch of Guru's hand. The subtle body, consisting of thoughts and desires, which cannot be burnt by the gross fire, is destroyed by the mere touch of the Guru's hand, and the sins of many past births are cleaned and washed away. Even the speech of those who feel agitated when they hear religious and godly talks attain calmness. The sight of Sai Baba's handsome form chokes our throat with joy, makes the eyes overflow with tears, and overwhelms the heart with emotions. It awakens in us, I am He, Brahma consciousness, manifests the joy of self-realization, and dissolving the distinction of I and Thou, makes us one with the Supreme. When I begin to read scriptures, at every step I am reminded of my Sadguru, Sai Baba, who assumes the form of Rama or Krishna and makes me listen to his life. For instance, when I sit to listen to Bhagavad, Sai becomes Krishna from top to toe, and I think he sings the Bhagavad or Uddhav Gita for the welfare of the devotees. When I myself start to write something, I cannot compose a few words or sentences, but when he, of his own accord, makes me write, I go on writing, and there is no end to it. When the disciple's egoism props up, he presses it down with his hand and gives him his own power, makes him gain his object, and thus satisfies and blesses him. If anyone prostrates before Sai and surrenders heart and soul to him, then all the chief objects of life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, are easily attained unsolicitedly. 4 parts of karma, dhyan, yoga, and bhakti lead us separately to God. Of this, the path of bhakti is thorny and full of pits and ditches, and thus difficult to travel. But if you, relying on your Sadguru, avoid the pits and thorns and walk straight, it will take you to the destination, says Sai Baba. After philosophizing about the self-existent Brahma, his power to create the world and the world created, and stating that all these 3 are ultimately one and the same, the author quotes Sai Baba's words, guaranteeing the welfare of the bhaktas. In Baba's words, there will never be any dearth or scarcity regarding food and clothes in my devotee's home. It is my special characteristic that I shall always look to and provide for the welfare of those devotees who worship me wholeheartedly with their minds ever fixed on me. Lord Krishna has also said the same in the Gita. Therefore, strive not much for food and clothes. If you want anything, beg of the Lord. Renounce worldly honors. Try to get Lord's grace and blessings and be honored in His court. Do not be deluded by worldly honor. The form of the deity should be firmly fixed in the mind. Let all the senses and mind be ever devoted to the worship of the Lord. Let there be no attraction for any other thing. Fix the mind in remembering me always, so that it will not wander elsewhere, towards body, wealth, and home. Then it will be calm, peaceful, and carefree. This is a sign of the mind being well engaged in good company. If the mind is vagrant, it cannot be called well merged in Him. After quoting these words, the author goes on to relate the story of Ram Navami festival in Shirdi. As Ram Navami is the most celebrated festival at Shirdi, another fuller account as published in Sri Sai Leela magazine is also referred to, and a summary of the festival as related in both these accounts is attempted here. Origin. One Mr. Gopal Rao Gund was a surveyor in survey department at Kopargaon. He was a great devotee of Baba. He had 3 wives but had no issue. With Sai Baba's blessings, a son was born to him. In the joy that he felt due to this, the idea of celebrating a fair or urus occurred to him in the year 1897, and he placed it for consideration before other Shirdi devotees, Tatya Patil, Dada Kote Patil, and Madhav Rao Deshpande, also known as Shama. They all approved of the idea and got for it Sai Baba's permission and blessings. Then, an application for getting the collector's sanction for celebrating the urus was made. But as the village Kulkarni reported against holding the fair, the sanction was refused. But as Sai Baba had blessed it, they tried again and ultimately succeeded in getting the collector's sanction. The day for the urus was fixed on the Ram Navami day, after having consultation with Sai Baba. It seems he had some purpose in this, that is, the unification of the 2 festivals, the urus and the Ram Navami, and the unification of the 2 communities, the Hindus and the Muslims. As future events showed, this end or object was duly achieved. Though the permission was obtained, other difficulties cropped up. Shirdi was a village and there was scarcity of water. There were 2 wells in the village. The one in use dried up soon, and the water from the second was brackish. This brackish water was turned sweet by Sai Baba by putting flowers into it. As the water of this well was insufficient, Tatya Patil had to arrange to get water from outside. Temporary shops were to be constructed and wrestling bounds arranged. Gopal Rao Gund had a friend by name Damu Anakasar of Ahmednagar. He also was similarly unhappy in the matter of progeny, though he had 2 wives. He too was blessed by Sai Baba with sons, and Mr. Gund prevailed upon his friend to prepare and supply 1 flag for the procession of the fair. He also succeeded in inducing Mr. Nana Sahib Nimonkar to supply another flag. Both these flags were taken in procession through the village and finally fixed at the two corners of the masjid, which is called by Sai Baba as Dwarka Mai. This is being done even now. The Chandan procession. There was another procession which was started in this fair. The idea of Chandan procession originated with one Mr. Amir Shakkar Dalal, a Muslim Bhakta from Kurla. This procession is held in honor of great Muslim saints. Chandan paste and scrapings are put in the thali and carried with incense burning before them in procession to the accompaniment of band and music through the village. And then, after returning to the masjid, the contents of the dishes are thrown on the nimbar and walls of the masjid with hands. This work was managed by Mr. Amir Shakkar for the first 3 years and then later by his wife. So on the same day, the two processions, the flags by the Hindus and the Chandan by the Muslims, went on side by side and is still going on without any problem. Arrangement. This day was very dear and sacred to the devotees of Sai Baba. Most of them turned up for the occasion and took part in the management of the fair. Tatya Kote Patil looked to all outward affairs, while the internal management was entirely left to Radha Krishna Mai, a female devotee of Baba. Her residence was full of guests on the occasion, and she had to look after their needs and also arrange for all the paraphernalia of the fair. Another work which she willingly did was to clean and whitewash the entire masjid, its wall and floor, which were blackened and were full of soot on account of the ever-burning dhuni of Sai Baba. This work she did during the night, when Sai Baba went to sleep every alternate day in the Chavadi. She had to take out all the things, including the dhuni, and after thorough cleaning and whitewashing, replace them as they were before. Feeding the poor, which was so dear to Sai Baba, was also a great item in this fair. For this purpose, cooking on a grand scale and preparing various sweet dishes was done in Radha Krishna Mai's lodging, and various rich and wealthy devotees took a leading part in this affair. Transformation of Urus into Ram Navami festival. Things were going on in this way and the fair was gradually increasing in importance till 1912 when a change took place. That year, one devotee, Mr. Krishna Rao Jogeshwar Bhisham, the author of Sai Sagunapasana, came for the fair with Dada Sahib Kharpade of Amravati and was staying on the previous day in the Dikshit Vada. While he was lying on the veranda and while Mr. Lakshman Rao alias Kaka Mahajani was going with puja materials to the masjid, a new thought arose in his mind, and he accosted the latter thus. There is some providential arrangement in the fact that the Urus of fair is celebrated in Shirdi on the Ram Navami day. The Ram Navami day is very dear to all the Hindus. Then why not begin the Ram Navami festival, the celebration of the birth of Sri Ram on this day here? Kaka Mahajani liked the idea, and it was arranged to get Baba's permission in this matter. The main difficulty was how to secure a Haridas who would do the kirtans and sing the glories of the Lord on this occasion. But Bhishma solved this difficulty by saying that his Ram Akhyan, the composition on Rama's birth, was ready, and he would do the kirtan himself, while Kaka Mahajani should play on the harmonium. It was also arranged to get the Suntavada, which is the ginger powder mixed with sugar, as prasad, was prepared by Radha Krishna Mai. So they immediately went to the masjid to get Baba's permission. Baba, who knew all the things and what was happening there, asked Mahajani what was going on in the Vada. Being rather perturbed, Mahajani could not understand the importance of the question and he remained silent. Baba then asked Bhishma what he had to say. He explained the idea of celebrating Ram Navami festival and asked for Baba's permission, and Baba gladly gave it. All rejoiced and made preparations for the Jayanti festival. Next day, the masjid was decorated with buntings, a cradle was supplied by Radha Krishna Mai and placed in front of Baba's seat, and the proceedings started. Bhishma stood up for kirtan and Mahajani played on the harmonium. Sai Baba sent a man to call Mahajani. Mahajani hesitated, doubting whether Baba would allow the festival to go on. But when he went to Baba, the latter asked him what was going on and why the cradle was placed there. He answered, Ram Navami festival had commenced and the cradle was put on for that purpose. Baba took a garland from the nimbar and placed it around his neck and sent another garland for Bhishma. Then the kirtan commenced. When it came to a close, sounds of victory to Ram went up and gulal, red powder, was thrown all around amidst band and music. Everybody was overjoyed when suddenly a roar was heard. The red powder thrown promiscuously went up and somehow fell into Baba's eyes. Baba got wild and began to scold and abuse loudly. People got frightened by this and began to take to their heels. The intimate devotees who knew Baba well took these scoldings and outpourings of Baba as blessings in disguise. They thought that when Ram was born, it was proper for Baba to get wild and enraged to kill Ravan and his demons in the form of egoism and wicked thoughts. Besides, they knew that whenever a new thing was undertaken at Shirdi, it was usual with Baba to get wild and angry, and so they kept quiet. Radha Krishna Mai was rather afraid and thought Baba might break the cradle, and she asked Mahajani to pull the cradle back. When he went to loosen and unfasten the cradle, Baba went to him and asked him not to remove it. Then after some time, Baba became calm, and that day's program, including Mahapuja and Arati, was finished. Later on, Mr. Mahajani asked Baba for permission to remove the cradle. Baba refused the same, saying the festival was not yet finished. Next day, another kirtan and Gopal Kala ceremony was performed, and then Baba allowed the cradle to be removed. While the Ram Navami festival was thus going on, the procession of the two flags by day and that of the Chandan by night went off with the usual pomp and show. From this time onwards, the urus of Baba was transformed into the Ram Navami festival. From next year, that is 1913, the items in the program of Ram Navami began to increase. Radha Krishna Mai started a Naam Saptaha, singing the glory of God's name continuously day and night for 7 days, from 11th day of Chaitra. For this, all devotees took part by turns, and she also joined in sometimes early in the morning. As Ram Navami festival is celebrated in many parts all over the country, the difficulty of getting a Haridas was felt again. But 5 or 6 days before the festival, Mahajani incidentally met Balabua, who was known as modern Tukaram, and got him to do the kirtan that year. The next year, in 1914, another Balabua Satarkar of Birhat Siddhak Kavate in district Satara could not act as a Haridas in his own town, as plague was prevailing there, and he came to Shirdi. With Baba's permission, which was secured through Kaka Sahib Dikshit, he did the kirtan and was sufficiently recompensed for his labour. The difficulty of getting a new Haridas every year was finally solved from 1914 by Sai Baba, as he entrusted this function to Das Ganu Maharaj permanently, and since then he has been successfully and creditably conducting that function so far. Since 1912, this festival began to grow gradually year by year. From the 8th to the 12th of Chaitra, Shirdi looked like a beehive of people. Shops began to increase, celebrated wrestlers took part in wrestling bouts, feeding of the poor was done on a grander scale. Hard work and sincere efforts of Radha Krishna Mai turned Shirdi into a sansthan. A beautiful horse, a palanquin, chariot, and many silver items, utensils, pots, buckets, pictures, mirrors were presented. Elephants were also sent for the procession. Though all this increased enormously, Sai Baba ignored everything and maintained his simplicity and modesty as before. It is to be noted that both the Hindus and Mohammedans have been working in unison in both the processions during the entire festival, and there has been no confrontation or quarrel between them at all so far. First, about 5,000 to 7,000 people used to gather, but that figure went up to 75,000 in some years. Still, there was no outbreak of any epidemic disease nor any riots worth the name during the past many years. Repairs to the masjid. Another important idea occurred to Gopal Gund. Just as he started the urus of fair, he thought he should repair and renovate the masjid. So, in order to carry out the repairs, he collected stones and got them dressed. But this work was not assigned to him. This was reserved for Nana Sahib Chandorkar and the pavement work for Kaka Sahib Dikshit. Initially, Baba was unwilling to allow them to have these works done, But with the intervention of Mahal Sapati, a local devotee of Baba, his permission was secured. Baba took a small gaddi for his seat, discarding the usual piece of sackcloth used until then. In 1911, the Sabha Mandap was also put in order with great labour and effort. The open space in front of the masjid was very small and inconvenient. Kaka Sahib Dikshit wanted to extend it and put a roofing on it. At great expense, he got iron posts, pillars and trusses and started the work. At night, all the devotees worked hard and fixed the posts. But Baba, when he returned from Chavadi next morning, uprooted them all and threw them out. Once it so happened that Baba got very excited, caught a pole with one hand and began to shake and uproot it, and with the other hand caught the neck of Tatya Patil. He took by force Tatya's feta, struck a match, set it on fire and threw it in a pit. At that time Baba's eyes flashed like burning embers. No one dared to look at him. All got terribly frightened. Baba took out a rupee from his pocket and threw it there as if it were an offering on an auspicious occasion. Tatya was also much frightened. No one knew what was going on and what was going to happen to Tatya, and no one dared to interfere. Bhagoji Shinde, the leper devotee of Baba, made a bold advance, but he was pushed aside by Baba. Madhav Rao was also similarly treated, pelted with brick pieces. So all those who went to intercede were similarly dealt with. But after some time, Baba's anger cooled down. He sent for a shopkeeper, got from him an embroidered feta, and himself tied it on Tatya's head, as if he was being given a special honor. All the people were wonderstruck to see the strange behavior of Baba. They were at a loss to know what enraged Baba so suddenly and what led him to assault Tatya Patil and why his anger cooled down the next moment. Baba was sometimes very calm and quiet and talked sweet things with love. But suddenly, with or without any pretext, got enraged. Many such incidents may be related, but I do not know which to choose and which to omit. I therefore refer them as they occur to me. In the next chapter, the question whether Baba was a Hindu or a Muslim will be taken up, and his yogic practices and powers and other matters will also be dealt with. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.
Sai Baba, Shri Guru Sai Baba.
Sai Baba, Satguru Shirdi Baba.
Mangal Giridhar Sai Baba,
Mangal Giridhar Sai Baba.
Shri Guru Purna Sai Baba,
Shri Guru Purna Sai Baba.
Karuna Sagar Sai Baba,
Karuna Sagar Sai Baba.
Nitya Niranjana Sai Baba,
Nitya Niranjana Sai Baba.
Sai Baba, Shri Guru Sai Baba.
Sai Baba, Satguru Shirdi Baba.
Chapter 7. Wonderful Incarnation. Behavior of Sai Baba. His yogic practices. His all-pervasiveness and mercy. Leper devotees' service. Master Kharpade's plague case, and going to Pandharpur. Wonderful Incarnation. Sai Baba knew all yogic practices. He was well versed in the 6 processes including dhauti, stomach cleaning by a moistened piece of linen, Khanda Yoga, separating his limbs and joining them again, and Samadhi. If you think that he was a Hindu, he looked like a Yavan, and if you thought him to be a Yavan, he looked like a pious Hindu. No one definitely knew whether he was a Hindu or a Muslim. He celebrated the Hindu festival of Ram Navami with all due formalities, and at the same time permitted the Chandan procession of the Muslims. He encouraged wrestling bouts in this festival. When the Gokula Ashtami came, he got the Gopal Kala ceremony duly performed, and on Eid festivals, he allowed the Muslims to say their prayers in his masjid. Once, during a Muharram festival, some Mohammedans proposed to construct a taziyah or tabut in the masjid, keep it there for some days, and later take it in a procession through the village. Sai Baba allowed the keeping of the tabut for 4 days, and on the 5th day got it removed from the masjid without the least compunction. If we say that he was a Muslim, his ears were pierced, and if you think that he was a Hindu, he advocated the practice of circumcision, though according to Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who observed him closely, he was not himself circumcised. If you call him Hindu, he always lived in the masjid. If Muslim, he had always a dhuni, sacred fire there. And the following things which are contrary to Muslim religion: grinding on the handmill, blowing of the conch and bells, oblation in the fire, bhajan, giving of food and worship of Baba's feet by means of arghya. All these were allowed there. If you think that he was a Muslim, the best of Brahmins and Agnihotris, leaving aside the orthodox ways, fell prostrate at his feet. Those who went to make inquiries about his caste were dumbfounded and were captured by his darshan. So no one could definitely decide whether Sai Baba was a Hindu or a Muslim. This is no wonder, for he who completely surrenders himself to the Lord by getting rid of his egoism and body consciousness thus becomes one with him and has nothing to do between any questions of caste or nationality. Baba saw no difference between any two castes and even between beings. He took meat and fish with fakirs but did not grumble when dogs touched the dishes with their mouths. Such a unique and wonderful incarnation was Sai Baba. On account of the merits in my past birth, I had the good fortune to sit at his feet and enjoy his blessed company. The joy and delight I derived from there was incomparable. In fact, Sai Baba was pure Anand and consciousness. I cannot sufficiently describe him, his greatness and uniqueness. He took delight at his feet, was established in his own self. Many sannyasis, sadhaks and all sorts of men aspiring for salvation came to Sai Baba. He always walked, talked and laughed with them and always uttered Allah Malik. He never liked discussion or disputation. He was always calm and controlled, though irritable at times, always preached Vedanta and nobody knew till the last who was Baba. Princess and poor people were treated alike by him. He knew the inmost secrets of all, and when he gave expression to them, all were surprised. He was a repository of all knowledge, still he feigned ignorance. Such were the characteristics of Sai Baba. Though he had a human body, his deeds testified to his godhood. All people considered him as a god in Shirdi. Behavior of Sai Baba. Ignorant that I am, I cannot describe Baba's miracles. He got almost all the temples in Shirdi repaired. Through Tatya Patil, the temples of Shani, Ganpati, Shankar Parvati, village deity and Maruti were put in order. His charity was also remarkable. The money he used to collect as dakshina was freely distributed, 20 rupees to some, 15 or 50 to others every day. People were immensely benefited by having Baba's darshan. Some became hale and hearty. Wicked people were turned into good ones. Kushta or leprosy was cured in some cases. Many got their desires fulfilled without any medicine being put in the eyes. Some blind men got back the sight, and some lame ones got back the limbs. Nobody could see the end of his extraordinary greatness. His fame spread far and wide, and pilgrims from all sides flocked to Shirdi. Baba had his asana near the dhuni and always rested there. He sat there in meditation, sometimes even without a bath. He used to tie a small white turban on his head and wear a clean dhotar around his waist and a shirt on his body. This was his attire in the beginning. He first practiced medicine in the village, examined patients and gave them medicines. He was always successful and he became famous as a hakim or a doctor. A curious case may be narrated here. One devotee had his eyes quite red and swollen. No doctor was available in Shirdi. The other devotees took him to Baba. In such cases, other doctors would use ointments, anjans or cow's milk and camphorated drugs. But Baba's remedy was quite unique. He pounded some biba and made 2 balls of them and thrust them one on each eye of the patient and wrapped a cloth around them. Next day, the bandage was removed and water was poured over them. The inflammation subsided and the pupils became white and clear. Though the eyes are very delicate, the Biba caused no hurt but removed the disease of the eyes. Many such cases were cured, and this is only an instance in this regard. Baba's yogic practices. Baba knew all the processes and practices of yoga. Two of them will be described here. Dhauti Kriya or cleansing process. Baba went to the well near the banyan tree at a considerable distance from the masjid every third day, washed his mouth and had a bath. On one occasion, he was seen throwing up his intestines, cleaned them inside out, and placed them on a jam tree for drying. There are persons in Shirdi who have actually seen this and who have testified to this fact. Ordinary dhauti is done by a moistened piece of linen, 3 inches broad and 22.5 feet long. This piece is gulped down the throat and allowed to remain in the stomach for about half an hour for being reacted there and then taken out. But Baba's dhauti was quite unique and extraordinary. The other yogic practice was Khanda Yoga. In this practice, Baba extracted the limbs from his body and left them separately at different places in the masjid. Once a gentleman went to the masjid and saw the limbs of Baba lying at separate places. He was much terrified. He first thought of running to the village officers and informing them of Baba being hacked to pieces and murdered. He thought he would be held responsible as he was the first informant and knew something of the affair. So he kept silent. But next day, when he went to the masjid, he was very much surprised to see Baba hale and hearty as before. He thought what he had seen the previous day was only a dream. Baba practiced yoga since his infancy and nobody knew or guessed the proficiency he attained. He charged no fees for his cures and became renowned and famous by virtue of his merits, gave health to many a poor and suffering person. This famous doctor of doctors cared not for his interests, but always worked for the good and welfare of the others, himself suffering unbearable and terrible pain many a time in the process. One such instance I give below, which will show the all-pervasive and most merciful character of Sai Baba. Baba's all-pervasiveness and mercy. In the year 1910, Baba was sitting near the dhuni on Diwali and warming himself. He was pushing firewood into the dhuni, which was brightly burning. A little later, instead of pushing logs of wood, Baba pushed his arm into the dhuni. The arm was scorched and burned. This was noticed by the errand boy Madhav and also by Madhav Rao Deshpande. They at once ran to Baba and Madhav Rao clasped Baba by his waist from behind and dragged him forcibly backward and asked, "Deva, for what have you done this?" Then Baba came to his senses and replied, "The wife of a blacksmith at some distant place was working the bellows of a furnace. Her husband called her. Forgetting that her child was in her lap, she got up hastily and the child slipped into the furnace. I immediately thrust my hand into the furnace and saved the child. I do not mind my arm being burnt, but I am glad the life of the child is saved." Leper Devotees' Service. On hearing the news of Baba's hand being burnt from Shama, Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, accompanied by the famous Dr. Parmanand of Mumbai, with his medical outfit consisting of ointments, lints and bandages, rushed to Shirdi and requested Baba to allow Dr. Parmanand to examine the arm and dress the wound caused by the burn. This was refused. Ever since the burnt arm was dressed by the leper devotee Bhagoji Shinde, his treatment consisted in massaging the burnt part with ghee and then placing a leaf over it and bandaging it tightly. Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar solicited Baba many a time to unfasten the bandages, get the wound examined, dressed and treated by Dr. Parmanand, with the object that it may heal fast. Dr. Parmanand himself made similar requests, but Baba postponed, saying Allah was his doctor and did not allow his arm to be examined. Dr. Parmanand's medicines were not exposed to the air of Shirdi and they remained intact. But he had the good fortune of getting a darshan of Baba. Bhagoji was allowed to treat the hand daily. After some days, the arm healed and all were happy. Still, we do not know whether any trace of pain was left or not. Every morning, Bhagoji went through the program of untying the bandages, massaging the arm with ghee, and tightly bandaging it again. This went on till Sai Baba's Samadhi. Sai Baba, a perfect Siddha as he was, did not really want this treatment. But out of love for his devotee, he allowed the Upasana, service of Bhagoji, to go on uninterrupted all along. When Baba started for Lendi, Bhagoji held an umbrella over him and accompanied him every morning. When Baba sat near the post close to the dhuni, Bhagoji was present and started his service. Bhagoji was a sinner in his past birth. He was suffering from leprosy. His fingers had shrunk, his body was full of pus and smelling badly. Though outwardly he seemed so unfortunate, he was really very lucky and happy, for he was the premier servant of Baba and got the benefit of his company. Master Kharpade's plague case. I shall now relate another incident of Baba's wonderful Leela. Mrs. Kharpade, the wife of Mr. Dada Saheb Kharpade of Amravati, was sitting at Shirdi with her son for some days. One day, the son got high fever, which further developed into bubonic plague. The mother was very frightened and felt most uneasy. She thought of leaving the place for Amravati and went near Baba in the evening when he was coming near the Vada in his evening rounds for asking his permission. She informed him in a trembling tone that her dear young son was down with plague. Baba spoke kindly and softly to her, saying that the sky is beset with clouds, but they will melt and pass off and everything will be smooth and clear. So saying, he lifted up his kafni up to the waist and showed to all present 4 fully developed buboes as big as eggs and added, "See how I have to suffer for my devotees? Their difficulties are mine." Seeing this unique and extraordinary deed, the people were convinced as to how the saints suffer pains for their devotees. The mind of the saints is softer than wax. It is soft in and out as butter. They love their devotees without any idea of gain and regard them as their true relatives. Going to Pandharpur. I shall now close this chapter after relating a story illustrating how Sai Baba loved his devotees and anticipated their wishes and movements. Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who was a great devotee of Baba, was Mamlatdar at Nandarbar in Khandesh. His devotion to Sai Baba bore fruit as he got an order to go and stay at Pandharpur, which is regarded as the Bhu Vaikuntha, heaven on the earth. Nana Sahib had to take immediate charge, so he left for the place without even writing or informing anybody at Shirdi. He wanted to give a surprise visit to Shirdi, his Pandharpur, see and salute his Vithoba, Baba, and then proceed further. Nobody knew of Nana Sahib's departure for Shirdi, but Sai Baba knew all of this. His eyes were everywhere. As soon as Nana Sahib approached Nimgaon, a few miles from Shirdi, there was a stir in the masjid at Shirdi. Baba was sitting and talking with Mahal Sapati, Appa Shinde and Kashiram, when he at once said, "Let us all 4 do some bhajan. The doors of Pandari are open. Let us merrily sing." Then they began to sing in chorus, the bhava of the song being, "I have to go to Pandharpur and I have to stay on there, for it is the house of my Lord." Baba sang and the devotees followed him. After a short while, Nana Sahib came there and his family prostrated before Baba and requested him to accompany them to Pandharpur and stay with them there. This solicitation was not necessary, as the devotees told Nana Sahib that Baba was already in the mood of going to Pandharpur and staying there. Hearing this, Nana Sahib was moved and fell at Baba's feet. Then after getting Baba's permission and Udi and his blessings, Nana Sahib left for Pandharpur. There is no end to Baba's stories, but let me now make a halt, reserving for the next chapter other topics such as importance of human life, Baba's living on alms, Bhaija Bhai's service and other stories. Bout Sri Sai. Peace be to all.
गुरुवर की परमानंद सदा रघुवर साई